cocktail or drink you're going to have. That's your beer review. That's your drink review also on Floatplane for the videos you have.
That wouldn't be a bad idea at all.
So
I kind of like that. Yeah, that's one idea to put a pin in.
Put it, yeah. Like, oh, I can one a week or whatever, because that's probably a pretty simple video, and that gets you that really cool, sweet.
Well, yeah, you know how easy they are to make.
Oh, ouch.
Welcome back to the show, John. Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 153. We were live. Your once weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
I'm John.
If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, and usually some Star Trek, and in today's case, a lot of Star Trek. And we make fun of John before the show.
That's pretty normal. Even when I'm not on, somehow I get made fun of throughout the show.
Yep, it's pretty normal. Let's see. We do drink alcohol on the show. However, we strive to keep it both family friendly in both language and content. And if you are drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know in the early show goings and we will shout it out in the chat. All super chats are read on the air so long as they meet our family friendly criteria. Let's see. If you want to take part in the super secret chat or the super secret after show, think about joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. You'll get exclusive access to the Discord server where all of that takes place, and you'll be helping me keep the lights on around here. And soon to come, Floatplane. It is official. I will be joining Floatplane as soon as maybe about a week. I've already got my creator account all set up. I'm just working on polishing the page up and getting some content uploaded. So yeah, you'll get all the same perks that you already get on Patreon. Basically, the benefits will be the same. It's just a different place if you'd rather go on to Floatplane instead of Patreon. So I may eventually tier some stuff out, but right now it's just going to be the same perks. You'll still get access to the Discord. You'll still get early access to videos, all that same kind of stuff, just on a different platform for now. And the Patreon is not going anywhere, so don't think you need to jump ship from Patreon to Floatplane or vice versa. However you want to give me dollars is totally cool with me.
Yeah, please don't.
How's it going, John?
It has been a day.
Has it?
Has been a day. One of our email companies decided to switch how they do security, and so all of our email server, we had to go and change them all. Most of them are all on printers for that particular service we were using. And if you've ever messed with printers and changing the email address on 20 different versions or types of printers, it is annoying.
Well, John, you know the organizations that I used to work with.
Yes.
Try me as far as I had to do 20 printers.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yours are probably all the same brand.
Yes.
Yes.
For the most part.
Mine are like 6 different brands. It's because they're like, well, I need a personal computer or I'm a personal printer. So we go and buy them some cheap HP. Well, I want one. Well, Canon was on sale, so let's go buy Canon. You know, oh, we got Ricoh over here. Oh, okay, there's a bunch of Ricoh printers.
Yep. Let's see here. Vladimir, Jeff, how's it going? Going pretty well. How about you? Carter, root beer thoughts. Are you asking for root beer recommendations or thoughts on you drinking the root beer? I love root beer.
I don't remember the last time I've had a Henry Weinheit's root beer. That used to be like my favorite root beer.
Yeah. I usually go for a Virgil's. They're kind of a lesser known craft root beer. There's also Rogue. Rogue makes a killer root beer. Trying to think of who else. Who else is a smaller? Well, there's always the Jones sodas. Go with the Jones root beer.
I've never had that.
Really?
Yeah, I used to really like Jones. I guess that was although back when I was in high school, the sour apple.
Yeah,
that was my go-to one.
Yeah. All right. Well, what are we drinking tonight?
I have a Leviat Brewing Company Tickle Parts.
Tickle Parts.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's
IPA.
hyphenated. Otherwise, I think that's an instant demonetization. I can say tick and I can say coal, but not in conjunction with parts. So
let's see. Mosaic, Citra, and Eldorado, 7.1%.
Okay.
So
Nice.
kind of just a high ABV standard IPA.
All right. I'm going to start with a beer that I don't think I've had on this show before, which is a little weird, but nice local favorite, Total Domination IPA from Ninkasi.
Oh, yeah. Very good stuff.
So this one is, I think it's around a 7%, 7 flat.
Yeah, I think so.
6.7. Yeah.
No, Ninkasi, like the variety pack is usually, my go-to. I need some IPAs.
That's what I have in my fridge right now. I have the Ninkasi Goat Pack.
Yeah, it really is.
Yep.
There is some floaties.
Yeah, it's either that or the Stone IPA variety pack.
Yeah, it's the Stone variety pack. I can only seem to find it at Costco.
They carry it at Target of all places.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's the one place I can reliably find it.
Yeah, Stone's always really good. Ninkasi. I usually, though, like the Ninkasi because they'll throw... Well, I want Dawn of the Red 90% of the time. So it's like, yeah, I want a couple of those.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Triceratops is their double or... Yeah, I think so. And then they usually throw a seasonal in there. So because usually have like a 4-pack variety. I think Stone's is only 3.
I've had the 4-pack. They do a couple different packs. There's their IPA pack, and that's a 3-way variety. So that's got their classic IPA. That's got the Fear Movie Lions.
Yeah.
That's their
and then
variations
usually like the Ruination or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's see. Spikes. Having some tea. Love to see your 3.5-hour drive just down the road to replace the burned down computer. Greetings from Portland. Hello, neighbor. You're just up the road as well.
Yeah. Just down the street from the guy. You can go see him.
Let's see. Skull drinking a Revolution Brewing Anti-Hero IPA. Pure whiskey for me, says Carter. Well, what whiskey? You can't just leave it at that.
Yeah. Is there a brand called Pure?
Right. Exactly. Had one for Novella, but it got dropped down. Oh, Novella, Big Axe Brewing, Guavatron. Guavatron, there we go. Guava and Strawberry Milkshake IPA, 7.9%.
Ooh.
I see that you are not hammered, but I'm here because you look wasted in the thumbnail. Well, that's weird because my thumbnail should just be the Craft Computing logo. So I'm not sure how I'm already wasted. Let's see. Sprecher root beer, says Lars. Sugar-free Swincher? Gatorade clone. Okay, cool. Squincher. Okay, there we go. Swincher? He missed a Q. That's Kildeye. Or Kildy, as I like to call him. Let's see what else we got. Got our beers in there. I think that's all the beer that I'm seeing down there. Yeah. Very cool.
Lethal is having a Dragon's Milk.
Solid choice, my friend.
Oh, and Lars is having a Bullet Bourbon Old Fashioned. Another personal favorite.
Nice. I like going for the rye for the Bullet in the Old Fashioned, but I do appreciate a good Bullet Bourbon as well.
Yeah.
So both are solid
acceptable.
Choices.
Yes.
Yes. Acceptable.
Me over here with my Canadian Mist.
Oh.
Old Fashioned.
Oh.
Yes. I have to get rid of it.
Ugh. If you're out of drain cleaner, that's an acceptable substitute.
I'm pretty sure I had like a shot of that the other day, and I was like, I had the worst hangover ever. And I was like, I don't know how. I only had a shot, and it had to have been just the impurities.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. It's hard to drink poor quality spirits.
Yes.
Those are what gives you hangovers. Those and highly sugarized, which oftentimes is in cheap quality spirits. They leave a lot of sugars in there.
Yeah, or they'll just add adjuncts to blend to help make it smoother.
Yep. Smirnoff whipped cream vodka. Guess what? They added sugar.
Yeah.
Hello, hangover. All right. Let's get into some news, shall we?
Yep.
So Intel has very quietly launched a budget-friendly killer CPU. You heard that right. A sub $100 killer CPU. They have quietly released the Core i3-10100F. Now, this is based on their 10100, which is, if I recall, $135 or $140 for a 4-core 8-thread CPU with integrated graphics. Well, the F simply does away with the integrated graphics. And so if you're planning on adding a video card, then this is a pretty solid option for you. This is going to be somewhere between $80 and $95 for the CPU for 4 cores, 8 threads. So think of where Intel was just 2 years ago for like their top end offerings.
Well, it's 4-core 8 threads, but also you're looking at like a 3.6 gigahertz.
3.6 gigahertz base with a 4.3 turbo and only 65 watts.
Yeah. So that right there is also very, very appealing.
Right. I mean, as great as the 1600 AF was when it launched at $85, that came and went just as quickly as far as availability goes. This CPU may be the new go-to for budget builds. And for single-threaded performance, this will beat a 1600 AF.
Yeah.
And $85, if you can pick one up for right around that price point, you can get a, gosh, what are the motherboards now? The B365 or whatever. Gosh, I forget Intel's budget LGA 1200 boards.
No, actually, yeah, when I saw this, that they released this, I was like, I'm actually very interested. I bet Jeff's probably going to do another budget
B460.
build.
Okay.
You know, another budget build. Or I was really intrigued that there's probably going to be a lot of budget computers out there, that this is going to lower the market. And it's going to be really nice for the first time gaming PC person, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I want to build something cheap. I have $250. Boom, you'll be able to buy this. You'll be able to run really nice games with this.
Yeah.
Again, you have to buy a graphics card, but yeah.
Yep. So people are mentioning the Ryzen 3100. Here's the problems with that. Is that one a... Okay, it is a 7 nanometer. See, when they launched the 3400G and the 3200G, those were 12 nanometers, so they were still Zen Plus. You didn't get the single core performance boost that the 7 nanometer parts brought to Ryzen, and they had an integrated Vega GPU, which was okay. You know, it's GT 1030 level performance. But the problem is you could almost never find them. They were supposed to be $130.
Yeah.
But they were almost never in stock. This chip may just beat a... I think it might have just enough extra performance that it will probably beat it both price and performance.
Well, isn't yeah, the only thing is like the catch isn't as much.
Yeah,
that's basically, you know, but like you said too, that as long as Intel keeps this in stock, yeah, this will probably be the go-to.
Right. American Cosworth says E5 2670 8V 312 core for $75. That is certainly a good deal for multi-threaded performance. It is a terrible deal for gaming performance. Because you're talking Haswell architecture, and a max boost of 2.7 all-core, because that's a 2.5 gigahertz base, and I think it's only a 2.7 or 2.8 all-core turbo. And I ran that chip for a couple of different years. Now, if you're gaming at 1440p, it levels it out a little bit, but yeah, you're lagging way behind in single-threaded performance. Like, think 40% slower. I mean, it's not a small gap.
3.3.
3.3 is the max turbo speed single core, but your max all-core turbo is somewhere around 2.8. And rarely in games will you actually achieve the single core turbo. Now you can unlock all the turbos and get them to 3.3, but 3.3 is also 30 to 35% slower than 4.3.
Yep.
So again, gaming performance scaling across 4 cores, 8 threads, the 10100F is likely going to be quite a bit faster. Good morning and greetings from Germany. Can't even make sense of your username, but good morning.
False illusion. Okay.
So yeah, I hope to actually get a hold of a 10100F here very quickly, and I'd like to turn around a build video with that, because I think that might be the new budget killer. And maybe I'll throw it up against a 3100 and see who wins. You know, that I think that might be a pretty interesting video.
No, I'd really like to see something like that too, because I constantly get asked, especially from guys at my work, and their kids are getting older. They're like, my kids are not interested in consoles anymore. They know PCs are just a lot better. I don't know what to do. I don't want to waste, $1,000 to $1,200. Yeah. What's going to get them interested? And what's a budget build? And actually, one of them I even just basically did your old budget build.
Yeah.
And they loved it. And I was like, hey, great. There you go. That was God, how old is that video? That's like 2 years old, huh?
The $220 PC? Yeah, that's
that Intel.
That's 3 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.5. I think it's 2.5. But yeah, I mean, that still gets you a gaming computer.
Yeah, it gets you a game. Well, again, too, it was for a 13-year-old boy who wanted to, basically, he just wanted to play Fortnite on a computer.
Fortnite, Minecraft, and
yeah. He's like, I want to play Fortnite. I want to do something like a 1030 will do that. That 1030 micro did it perfect. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and then. Actually, it's a funny story that they ended up breaking it because I guess he upset his father and did one of those things, like really, really upset his father and was disobedient. The dad did one of those, if you do this, I'm taking this away and I'm going to destroy this.
Yeah.
And he took the computer up and just chucked it down the street. And then it ended up breaking it or bending it up. Because you've had that case. That thing is a pretty solid case.
Yeah.
He brought it back to me. He's like, can you fix this?
Okay.
I ended up salvaging most of it, but I think I ended up posting pictures. It basically broke the pin for the graphics card, and that was it. So surprisingly, everything else held. I think I posted it on Discord a while back. Again, another reason to join Discord. There's so many interesting things that go on.
That's right. Not that John's shilling for me or anything.
No, why would I do that?
Yeah, he doesn't even get beer weekly anymore.
I know.
Although the good news about that is I don't have
Jeff
to drink
doesn't
beer
get beer
weekly anymore. Someone asked if I could do a comparison video between a 10100F and a 3300X. Unfortunately, those are going to be completely different price points, so I don't think the comparison really makes sense. You're looking at $130 versus $85. And those, when you get to that level of budget, it's like, well, it's only $30. $30 makes or breaks a budget build, especially if you're changing platforms, have different memory requirements. $30 means you can upgrade from a 1650 Super to a 5500 XT. I mean, that's the difference in a $30 build. So it is a consideration. So I don't think I'm going to do that comparison. If the 3100 was $100 like it's supposed to be, I'd consider doing a 3100 versus a 10100F. And in fact, I might try to do that anyway, just based on the retail cost. But I'm looking at Amazon right now, and the 3100 is going for $122. So, yeah, not sure what I'm going to do there.
Yeah, I mean, even like you said, it's a budget. That's a game.
X isn't even listed on Amazon right now.
Yeah.
So, Oh, what else we got here? This one is a little bit of a follow-up to a story we talked about what feels like about 3 years ago now. I think back in April. So Foxconn was supposed to be building a factory.
Oh yes, I remember
in Wisconsin. So the factory would have produced, OLED TVs, monitors, a whole bunch of different things for Foxconn, but mainly they were going to be a monitor production facility. And it was supposed to be a $3.2 billion facility, and bring that much money and revenue into the state of Wisconsin. And so they were going to be eligible for certain tax breaks, but they also had certain marks that they had to hit with this investment in order to either A, get those tax breaks, or B, get approved to build at all. And 3 years later, it seems like this deal is starting to fall through just a little bit. So Foxconn was supposed to be pouring about $3 billion into the plant, and they were supposed to hire, what was it, 550 full-time employees?
Yeah, 520.
520,
and they claimed they had 550.
That's right. They claimed they had 550. According to tax records, however, they've only hired 280.
Yeah.
So according to the state of Wisconsin, they are not hitting that mark. According to Foxconn, they said, no, we hired 550 full-time employees. Well, there's no tax documentation to back that up. Also, according to this claim from Wisconsin, is that Foxconn was supposed to spend $3.3 billion by the end of 2019. Foxconn has only spent about $300 million, though. So they're missing the mark by, well, a couple of zeros. Like at least 3 of them.
I mean, they got the first number right.
Right. Yeah, they got the point. They got everything after the decimal taken care of.
Maybe they thought that was just like an error in the printer, like it skipped.
Yeah, running out of ink and
just like
the first 3 didn't show up. The first 3 just
someone hit the printer right there.
Yeah,
and it printed 3 twice somehow. It was an old inkjet. I don't know. That doesn't make sense.
$20. Big spoon. I really like the collaboration you did with that Linus Tech guy, or with Linus Tech Tips for that guy that lost his house. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That video was a lot of fun to do. It was a lot of fun getting to work with Linus, and meet some of the crew up there. It was stressful at times because we had to deal with shipping across the border and all the things that come with that. We had delays because customs opened the monitor, and then there were issues getting it in because of tax reasons for the shipment, and so we had to work all that out. Long story short, we got everything shipped, got everything done, got the PC delivered, and Spencer is thoroughly happy with everything. He was very nervous being on camera, but oh man, the guy is a natural and genuinely funny. He was a lot of fun to work with.
How did you not give him a free Patreon? I mean, that's what it really should have done. Been like, all right, you get this cool computer, but I got something special.
Way to call me out on the air, John.
Free Patreon.
Man,
I'll tell you what. I'll throw in. He can subscribe to my channel too. He can do that. Go ahead.
You give and you give, John.
I'll let him do that. I'll go ahead and do that.
But no, that was a lot of fun to go down there. And that shot of me driving into that housing development and seeing all those houses burned. Number one, I was not expecting that, and me turning the camera on, that was the first time I was seeing it as well. That was me pulling into that driveway for the first time, and the silence was real. I wanted to hear nothing but the sound of my tires over the road and show that. When I did the editing, because when I was recording that, I was literally speechless. I had nothing to say. There was nothing that I could have said that would have added or taken away from that moment.
Yeah, and it looked really pretty surreal.
It was beyond surreal. I've seen devastation from house fires before. I've never seen an entire community leveled like that before.
Yeah.
And so that was quite literally shocking. I mean, I took a couple of laps around that whole neighborhood, and you're looking around and you're identifying cars. In fact, there was a burnt out Toyota MR2 Spider a couple doors down from Spencer's grandma's house. It's like, I used to drive one of those cars.
Yeah.
I know what that car looks like, and here it is, literally burnt down, and the frame is resting on the ground because the wheels melted out from under it. I mean, seeing manufactured homes and what remains of them, and usually they have iron substrates that run down it, seeing some of those literally melted in half or all mangled and twisted from the heat.
Yeah.
It was a wild scene. But I was so thankful to be part of that. I was so thankful that I was able to help out in any way, shape, or form. Thank you to Linus and his crew for the donation of the parts, and that was a lot of fun. And I hope I get to do stuff like that again in the future, collaboration or not.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the collaboration certainly helped, but no, I did it because it was the right thing to do. So
Yeah. Well, there's this guy who I think pretty much destroyed his garage. You could probably help him like rebuild his garage because the flooring on it is horrible. He did a horrible job drywalling it. Yeah, it's just horrible. I mean, you might need to collaborate.
A couple months ago, his server died on him too.
Yeah.
And he had all kinds of. We should totally get him hooked up with a brand new FreeNAS server.
Yeah.
Solve all of his problems at once. Although I'm not grinding down a garage floor for Jason. He's a friend, but so are you, John. Friendship only goes so far. So yeah, no, thank you, Spoon, for that, and thank you to everyone else, both on YouTube, Discord, etc. Anyone who reached out to me and said how much they enjoyed that video. That was a lot of fun, and I'm, like I said, I'm glad I was able to help. All right. Let's see, is there anything in chat here?
There's a couple things going on. It's pretty lively.
Someone asked, should I my 290X AMD card is not holding up for me. Should I buy a 5700 XT or wait for the announcements? I personally, at this point, would wait for announcements. You're 2 weeks away. What do you got to lose? I never recommend buying something right before an announcement, especially when another company's already made an announcement. We know the 3070 is coming out, and it's probably going to be not really in stock until the end of the year. But $500 for that graphics card is going to be freaking insane. And depending on what AMD announces and what their stock levels are at, you might be able to jump in at $500 and get a card that either matches or bests the 3070 for $500. The 5700 XT is a great card for between the $400 and $500 price point. But I'm afraid you might get a little bit of buyer's remorse if 2 weeks later something comes out for $300 for the same performance. So that's where I would caution you. I would always get all the information first and then buy later, because let's face it, you can probably game for a couple more weeks on your 290X.
Yeah.
You may not want to. You may be like, I need a new card. Trust me, I get that way all the time with hardware. But you know the announcement's coming. You know what's already been announced for the around the same price point that you're looking at. Wait a couple of more weeks, be patient, get the thing you want.
Yeah, get the thing you want. It'll be in budget, and you'll be able to buy something even shiny new if it is just as good as that you think it is. So,
yeah.
Could save you some bucks, maybe not. But I think that little bit of time and patience will be good.
Yes. All right. It's about 8:30. How's your beer doing?
A third.
Boy, I'm
well.
drinking.
I had a 16. You had a 12.
I guess that's true. So we're about even then.
I mean, I could hurry up. I got no problem.
Right. No, I was just going, should we open one now or should we do it after the next story? So after the next story is totally fine with me.
Okay.
So, or in the middle of the next story.
Or in the middle, whatever. That's fine.
Wherever the opportunity presents itself. How's that? All right. Moving into our top story for the day. And that is Zen 3 processors were announced literally about 12 hours after we went off the air last week. So I'm the last outlet to talk about it.
I know. I saw that. I saw that.
Freaking Thursday morning releases. Don't they know who I am?
I laughed so hard. I was like, wow. If only Jeff had this last week, it would have been a much better, more interesting episode.
Luckily, I think the Radeon announcement is actually Wednesday morning, and so I'll be the first outlet to report on it. That'll be good. But yeah, no, the 7th kind of screwed me over. Or I guess it was the 8th. It was the 8th and the 28th. So AMD Wednesdays or Tuesdays, but preferably Wednesdays. Wednesday mornings. All your announcements then.
Tuesday night.
Yeah. Wednesday night is too late.
I mean, it'd be great if it was like breaking at like 6 p.m.
Right.
Pacific Standard Time. That way we are literally the first one.
Yep, that would be nice. Although I'd like time to digest it first.
Yeah.
So
then to speculate, but yeah.
But anyway, big news of the week is AMD has officially announced Zen 3, a la their 5000 series processors. And I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant because AMD had all the chance in the world to start to consolidate their naming schemes, and instead they've just screwed them up entirely. And what I mean by that is the original Zen series, Zen 1, was the 1000 series of processors. Made all the sense in the world. Then they went on to the 2000 series of processors and called it Zen Plus. And I understand it was a minor die shrink on the same exact platform, the same exact architecture. And that makes sense to call it Zen Plus, but maybe just up your numbers by 20. So instead of the 1600 and 1700, you had the 1620 and 1720. They're bigger numbers. They're plus CPUs. They're a little bit faster, but they're the same architecture. Then Zen 2 came out, and they went to the 3000 series of names. And I went, well, that doesn't really make sense because it's 3rd generation Ryzen.
You mean Zen
on
3?
The Zen 2 architecture.
Zen 2. Yeah.
3rd generation Ryzen on the Zen 2 architecture with a 3000 series name. Okay. All right. Well, what are they going to do for 4th gen? Well, at least they can stay and go to 4000.
Nah. Let's jump that.
4th generation Ryzen, Zen 3 architecture, 5000 series. And now it's even worse because their graphics cards are also 5000 series. So I cannot wait to put a 5600 XT and pair it with my 5600 XT.
You mean 5600X versus 5600 XT?
Bear in mind, the 5600X CPU with my 5600 XT graphics card, but the XT later came out with some of their CPUs as well, so there may be no stopping that. But it's like you had all the chance in the world to clarify it and to divide your two product names, and instead you just went like this with them.
Well,
it ticks me off.
It's Zen 3, 4th generation,
right?
Model number 5000. So 3, 4, 5. Yeah, they just that works.
Yeah, just irritates me to no end. And then Zen 1 architecture in mobile was 2000 series, so it wasn't even Zen Plus. And then Zen 2, they jumped to 4000 series. With Zen Plus being 3000 series in between. So mobile's been lagging a one letter number in front of the desktop series. Just frustrating. Frustrating from a standpoint of someone who does understand it and needs to repeat that information, because all I'm going to end up doing is confusing a lot of my viewers when I talk about product names offhand. So we're talking about the 5600X today. The CPU, not the graphics card.
Yeah. I know. Naming all these products off, and especially off the cuff, and always having to basically verify like what I'm actually talking about. Having to say the Ryzen 7 5800X or whatever, and then the graphics card.
Yeah.
It's gonna be super, super annoying. Although there is a plus side to this announcement is I actually really like these processors.
Oh, so do I. there's no complaints in performance from me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add to that because, John, I don't know if you saw the outrage machine on Reddit. There's no outrage on the pricing standpoint from me either.
No, not really. Actually, because I was trying to figure out what's going to be the best one for bang for budget. I was like, really, it's hard to tell, right? Because these are all really good bangs for your buck,
right? So people are glossing over the fact that it's a 19% per core performance improvement, and they're saying, "Well, I'm not going to buy it because it's $50 more now." Who does Ryzen? Who does AMD think they are?
Yeah.
They're the new market leader. They are crushing Intel and bearing out benchmarks when independent benchmarks come out. They are crushing Intel with these numbers.
Yeah.
And yes, they're going to be $20 or $30 or $40 or $50 more expensive than the Intel counterpart. Do you know why? Because they're also 20% faster.
Yeah, I mean, 20, let's see, they're saying, at least on their specs, maximum was 29%. That was on Lara Croft for graphics or something like that. Right. But still, a 29% jump, of that, that's huge on a processor.
Yeah, an average of 15%, max boost of about 29%, and the lowest was Battlefield 3 went down by 3.
Yeah.
But everyone's hopping mad because AMD is charging $300 now for their 6-core 12-threaded processor. Well, it's 6 cores, 12 threads with 3.7 boost and a 4.6 max turbo.
Yeah.
However, it's only 65 watts, which is still less power than Intel's drawing on their 14 nanometer plus architecture. And yeah, it's going to be more expensive than the previous generation Ryzen. Although if you look at processors like the 3600X, which were $240 at launch, it's a $60 premium. You're right.
But what you're not having to do, like a lot of Intel jumps, is you're not having to buy another motherboard.
Slots right into your X570 or B450 motherboards.
Exactly. So that's where you're saving that extra $50 though. It's like, hey, look, it's backwards compatible. Essentially.
Yeah. And yes, I meant Battlefield 5. I think I said Battlefront.
That's 3. I thought, something like that.
Battlefront 3 or Battlefield 3 or
Again, naming.
Battlefront 5.
Naming.
Yeah. The one with the V. Yeah. But I'm not at all upset with these prices. And if you have half a brain, neither will you be. Not that I think Reddit only has half a brain. I think it's less than that. Sometimes. Sometimes.
Right there.
You guys are great. You guys are great. Most of the time.
It's like one out of every 10,000.
But this goes hand in hand with the outrage machine I was talking about last week about the capacitors and capacitor gate and about the MSI selling 4 graphics cards. And people are so willing to just jump on that hate train and ride it with no thought at all. AMD is no longer the plucky little upstart competitor to Intel that they played for the last decade.
Yeah.
AMD is now the market leader. They can charge a premium. Do you know why Intel got away with charging a premium for over 10 years? Because they were the market leader. Because where else were you going to go? What other CPU were you going to buy that matched a 9980XE at $2,000? The answer was there wasn't one.
And in all honesty, the proof is actually just like what we were talking about earlier. Just exactly what you said. Intel literally launched a budget CPU.
Right.
I was like,
Intel is now the plucky upstart and the budget-friendly competitor.
Yeah.
And you know how freaking weird that is to say.
I mean, it's super weird. Like, Intel's got this. I mean, it's really pleasant because you're like, Intel's got this history, and it's like getting that really rare beer. And they're like, Pliny the Elder. Well, it's nationally distributed. Like, and it's owned by Budweiser. But it's still Pliny the Elder.
Right.
Right.
AMD can charge a premium because what else are you going to buy that matches that?
Yeah.
And AMD has priced their CPUs very reasonably throughout the years. Since the start of Ryzen. My very first live show, episode 1 of Talking Heads, we talked about the announcement of first generation Threadripper. So in 153 episodes, we've gone from AMD is launching a workstation class CPU for $1,000 with 16 cores and 32 threads. That looks to kind of upset the market a little bit, because the closest thing you can get right now on the Intel side of things was with 18 cores and 36 threads is the 7980XE, and that's $2,000. So here's AMD coming in for half the price, giving you similar multi-threaded performance, maybe 15% down, but they're in the conversation at least.
Yeah.
And they're a budget-friendly option. And the Ryzen 7 1700 at $299, or $399 when it launched at $400, was the budget-friendly option to Intel's offerings that were $1,000. No, it wasn't as fast, and it was the budget option. The 5950X at $799 is no longer the budget option. It is the best option. It is the best consumer CPU that has ever been made. And you know what? They can charge you $50 more if they damn well please.
Yeah. No, it's not bad. Because what? Intel was charging $12-15 for their top performance stuff?
Actually, we talked about that over the years as well, about when Ryzen came onto the scene. Intel's 6-core offering was $600. Yeah. Their 8-core offering was $1,000. That's how much it cost you to get an 8-core processor 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And
just 3 years.
And people are going to complain about $800 and
now you're complaining. Now you're complaining about a $50 price increase from $750 to $800 for a 16-core 32-threaded processor with a 4.9 gigahertz max turbo that only draws 105 watts. That decimates everything Intel has. You're complaining about $800 now. This is what competition brings. Yep. This is what we wanted. This is the end result of AMD taking the lead. And you know what? It's still a hell of a lot better market than it was 3 years ago. Because I think we've been a little spoiled in the CPU market over the last 3 years. With Intel finally dropping their prices down to more reasonable levels. I won't say they've reached reasonable levels, because they, in my opinion, they still haven't. Especially because they're simply recycling Skylake again and again and again.
Yeah, you can scroll. Yeah, you can scroll down into that article, and they even show all the different price points for the Ryzen 9 50 59
and where they're stacking up against Intel.
And it's 30, or it looks like a $20 difference for the i9 1089 0xe. Gosh,
10980XE.
Thank you. Jeez.
How's that for a freaking stupid name?
I know, and then you look at the wattage,
which is actually just a 7980XE.
You look at the
no, it's soldered, so it needs a new name.
So you got a base of 3.0 and a top of 4.8, still lower, and a wattage of 165.
Right, 165 watts. And 25 megs of cache versus 64 megs of L3 cache. Oh, and 105 watts. Oh, and did we mention this will be faster in every single benchmark that it goes against?
Oh, and then you look under that, and the next two ones that are competitive are both the next two Ryzens before Intel even goes into the picture.
Yep. Well, to be fair, there's also the 10960X and the 10920X that they didn't list, because those are also $800. Intel simply dropped the price of the 10980XE because no one was buying it at $1,000. And that should tell you something as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, expected performance is going to be quite literally off the charts. AMD is going to set records. AMD is going to set overclock records. AMD is going to set single-threaded and multi-threaded records. And that's even if the benchmarks are half as good as they're promising. This is the next generation leap. This is the leap we've been looking for since about 2015, 2016, since Intel started recycling Skylake year over year over year. and giving us 3% improvements. This is the generational leap we've been waiting for almost 5 years. Yeah, and I don't care if it's $50 more because it's competitive.
Yeah, this is a Intel literal crusher. I mean, like you said, when you first started, we were talking about Ryzen, and we've always said, oh, it's the budget Intel killer. This is a Intel killer.
Right.
Literally, this will crush Intel. Any fanboy has anything to say is now just set aside.
Yep. Lars said, if it were you, would you build a 10900K or a Ryzen 9 5900X? Number one, I don't have the 5900X in hand. But what I can tell you is 5900X has 2 extra cores and will likely be faster in every single metric, single-threaded and multi-threaded. And it's going to cost roughly the same, within $20, 5900X. Because I know what the 10900K is going to get me. It's going to give me a 5.1 fully overclocked from a 4.8 max turbo. It's going to draw 190 watts when overclocked to 5.1. Because Intel's TDPs are grossly misleading because they give the TDP at the base clock, not at the turbo or overclocked clocks. Whereas with the Ryzen, it'll draw 105 watts when it's doing 4.9 on all cores.
And they've stated that too.
Yep, that's the max TDP, not the base TDP. So you like your room hot? Well, double your wattage output, and there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. What you end up spending on that $50 in CPU, you save on your power supply.
Right, and cooler. You don't need as good of a cooler.
Yeah.
You can cool 105 watts with a good chunk of air coolers out there. Not even closed liquid coolers. Not even CLCs, AIOs. Just get a Dark Rock Pro 4, Noctua NHD 15, an Assassin 3, Fuma 2 from Scythe. The list goes on about fantastic air coolers for $80 versus what do you need to cool down a 10900K?
A fully liquid system.
A 280 rad or a 360 and a really good pump. Something that's not going to break down and die because of heat. So, again, wait for benchmarks, independent benchmarks. Don't trust AMD because they might have slanted the benchmarks in their favor, just like every other company on the planet does.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you go and look. They cherry picked. They cherry picked, and so, but. I don't know. I'm betting because the last set of Ryzens were pretty close on par from what they stated everything was going to be. So that gives me a track record of I kind of believe them.
Mm-hmm. Snowman, I think the Snowman might be a little under-equipped if it were me. The Snowman's a great budget cooler, but that's like saying, yeah, the Hyper 212 Evo is the best cooler ever. It's a fantastic cooler that hits well above its $30 weight class. It is not a $90 cooler, though. So, I like the Snowman. Don't get me wrong, I like the Snowman. Then an NHU12, an NHD15, an Assassin 3, a Scythe Fuma 2, those are a different class of coolers. And they're priced accordingly. If you're going to spend $550 on a CPU, spend the extra $50 on a cooler. My advice. Dang.
Me too. You went on your rant.
That wasn't even a rant.
Well, no, but earlier before, and I was drinking during the rant.
I thought that was pretty minor.
No, it was. I still drank through it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is just rant. This is drinking time. All right, cool.
So, Total Domination, if you've never had it, classic, dry, danky, grassy Northwest IPA.
Oh, yeah. I would say if you're looking for classic Northwest tasting IPAs.
Yeah.
Both Stone,
early 2000s.
Early 2000s. Both Stone and Ninkasi.
Yes.
And both are independent and widely distributed, but I think Ninkasi is basically just the Northwest.
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Maybe
they have a smaller distribution.
Smaller I believe Oregon, Washington, maybe.
Although are they in the CBA, the Craft Beer Alliance?
No, they are not. Remember,
Okay.
they started their own.
That's right. I couldn't remember if they were joining with Widmer or starting their own, or if
they started their own.
Yeah.
I forget what company it was called.
American
how they called it.
Something.
Yeah. But yeah, they basically started their own to protect themselves from being bought up.
Yep.
So they're part of a community, but a very small one.
Yep. Dark Arc Pro 4 and a Pure Base 500 DX was already the plan. See, there you go. I have a 3900X. I want to sell it and get a 5600X. No, don't. Quite honestly, don't. You've already invested in a 3900X, $500 processor. Why would you jump up to?
You're not going to get your money
3,
back. Yeah.
You're going to get 15% boost in some games, but you're going to lag way behind in multi-threaded performance because you're going from 12 cores to 6. And quite honestly, you're only going to get 350 in return for your 3900X once Zen 3 launches officially on November 5th. So yeah, I wouldn't make that trade if you're purely after a gaming standpoint. Even if you're after a workflow standpoint, that's a terrible trade. Don't trade 12 cores for 6 to jump one generation of CPU. I've said that multiple times, regardless of the platform. It can cover some of the cores lost, but it's only a 15% boost, and you're talking about a 50% loss. So you're going to be at, 60% the performance in multi-threaded as your last one? Keep the 3900X. Don't generation hop. Wait at least 2 generations.
I'm going to go grab my beer.
Sweet. So I need to heat my garage this winter. So dual 5690X retro build. It's funny you mentioned that because the computer sitting right next to me is a PC that I originally built back in, I think, 2011, maybe 2012, and upgraded in 2014. It is my second X58 build, and this has a 5690 in it. And so I will be I'll be showing this off on the channel as the PC I always wanted to build back then. So think Jeff's 2014 Dream PC. I'm going to do a video on that.
So Jeff, straight out of in college, Jeff.
College Jeff. 2014.
Oh.
I'd already owned a house and been married for 6 years. No, 8 years.
So see, hang on. So that would be.
Wow.
Jeff
I'd have been married for
John.
8 years in 2014.
See, wait. Jeff's about to meet John. Builds his PC.
John, we met in 2010.
Was it?
Yeah, it's been 10 years.
Oh my gosh!
Right. Yeah, no, 2010.
Oh my gosh!
That's when we met.
Wow.
Back to your old strawberry ale days.
Shut up!
What are you drinking, John?
I'm gonna make that as another video. Be like, I'm gonna make this beer again.
Chunky strawberry.
Chunky strawberry. I am drinking Anchorage. Nervous. It is a double IPA brewed with cashmere and strata hops. So really like the cool. It's got this kind of almost cowboy bebop skull kind of guy on it. So
John,
really
I'm glaring at you right now because you're opening an Anchorage.
Oh, I have 2 of these. That's the only reason why I got
I'm
this.
glaring at you right now.
Hey, you open plenty of good beers.
You know what? Now I want to go to my fridge because what I had planned just doesn't sound good anymore.
I don't know if this is good.
John,
it
it's
probably.
Anchorage.
I know. It 90% is.
God, it looks like Sunny D.
Oh, it smells fantastic. Ooh, I'm glad I got 2 cans of this.
Yeah. Well, you're bringing one over, right? Is John in 2020 the same as John in 2010? Actually, I told John tonight he looks exactly like he did the day I met him.
This is it. Oh my god.
Yep.
Will
there be a Zen 3 for Threadripper? Of course there will be a Zen 3 for Threadripper. No, they're just going to do away with Threadripper because we've already beat Intel. Why do we need to pound them into a pulp? Because we need to pound them into a pulp. That's what Threadripper is going to do. Think 64 cores of Zen 3.
This is like if IPAs and Trick cereal were put together in a perfectly balanced beer. It is super fruity.
It's like, that fruity tropical sweet.
But it's not like super tropical sweet. It's just that fruity, but you taste all these different fruit notes. Mango, lemon, lime, pineapple, dragon fruit, passion fruit, and they're all perfectly there. And so it's just like having a scoop of, Trick cereal where you have all those different fruit flavors in there.
Yeah.
And you just open it up. It's like, oh, this is perfect. Perfect.
Nice.
This is a 4.2, 4.25, easy.
Okay, nice. So I started off with the total domination, and I figured I'm going to go with the juicy domination, which is their juicy version of the same beer.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why it's not focusing anymore. Come on, Sony. Freaking heck. Yeah. So the juicy domination IPA, which is a 6.3, so slightly lighter ABV. So yeah, anyone have any other Zen 3 thoughts before we move on to the next topic? Because the next topic, we're going to go, and we're not going to stop.
Yeah.
Just warning you.
If there was an opposite of rant, there was...
Do I need to change the red alert graphic really quick?
Even Skull. I hit it on the nose. Skull said 4.2 on Untapped, and that's exactly what I gave it.
Nice. What did the juicy domination get? That's what I want to know.
I think that gets a high 3.
I was gonna say a low 3 if it's me, because I've had this before.
I think it gets like a 3.65, 3.69. If I remember correctly.
I'm gonna say a 3.3.
3.74.
Okay. See, to me, this is kind of a step back from the domination. Which is, in my opinion, it's not quite as good as the domination IPA. It's good, but stupid Sony. For some reason, my Sony ZV-1 is not wanting to focus on me. I think I have it in automatic mode, but it's like freaking out. The focus has been freaking out all night. So I think I have it in the wrong mode or something.
What's funny is the total domination, 3.73. So a little bit smaller.
0.01 points lower.
Yeah. But no, I agree. The total domination is a fantastic beer.
Yeah.
Although it has also a lot more votes. Yeah.
To me, this is just an okay juicy, though. It's not.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, like you compare the color to my juicy to your juicy,
right? And it just doesn't compare.
No, doesn't compare.
Right. With or without the light shining directly on it, it's yeah. Wait, was Lower Decks finally out? The series finale was last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're talking about it tonight. That and there was no other news to talk about.
No, we scoured for 2 days of there's nothing to talk about.
Yep. Super chat from you me. $5. You me. Should I wait for third-party reviewers for the Ryzen 5000 series processors? Kind of worried because of how NVIDIA's launches went. I always say wait for independent reviews.
Yeah.
So the Zen 3 release is not just a step release of Zen 2. Zen 3 is a from the ground up rebuild of Zen. It's they to this point, Zen Plus, and Zen 2 have been based on the same exact architecture, layout, silicon, etc., except for the 14 to 12 to 7 nanometer FinFET drop. This one is still on the 7 nanometer FinFET, but it's a complete rebuilding of the architecture from the ground up. One of the things they did was allow the cache, both sets of cache, to be read by both sets of cores. So there's still an I/O die controlling everything, but now the cores on chiplet 1 can read the cache from the dies on chiplet 2. And that dramatically improves latency, and that's where your 19% IPC improvement comes from. So if the technology works out the way AMD says it will work out, and if the benchmarks work out the way they say they will, this is going to be a revolutionary jump. But I still always say, wait for independent reviews.
Yes.
Be smart about your money. If you want to try it just to try it, and you got that cash to throw around, cool. If you've been saving up for a year to buy a rig, wait another frickin' 2 weeks, have patience, and then buy it. Once the reviews come out, and once you're satisfied with what those reviews say. That's my recommendation. It's my recommendation for everything, every time there's a new product announced. Wait until someone reviews it. If you agree with said review, and you trust said review, and you've looked at multiple reviews, and you're happy with what they all say, and you are happy spending X amount of money, go spend the money.
Yeah, don't just
if
go
you're
without
not,
one review.
Right. Don't just trust me. I'm an idiot.
Don't just trust that review guy who has like 30,000 sponsors in front of him and like, I got this in the mail today. Oh, this is fantastic. Well, see you guys later.
I do more than that. Some credit. Not all the credit, just some credit. All right. It is 9:02.
All right. So we get
time for.
Yeah. You need a whole nother marquee for just.
I do for Star Trek talk. As if this one didn't sell it enough.
I know, right? Is there like a holodeck? What can we 10 forward? Oh, you need to make a 10 forward one.
You know, we could like change our backgrounds in Zoom.
That would be really cool. Yeah. We need to start getting organized here. Like how we're going to talk. Putting in the notes. All right. This time hit this Zoom background.
Well, hold on a second. Jump me full screen. I'm going to kill your window. I can pull it over to mine. I don't have another monitor up today, so it's kind of tricky to see.
Yeah, I don't
have. Choose virtual background. Do I still? Oh no, I don't have them loaded on this one. No.
Ah.
I had like everything. I had all the bridges. I had holodeck. I had engineering.
There was that one night, like we first did Zoom.
Yeah.
We were just constantly doing it.
Yep. So anyway, I don't have the backgrounds.
All right. Well, next time.
Star Trek talk, more specifically Lower Decks, more specifically a season recap review and Spoilercast. If you have not watched the Lower Decks, we will be talking about it with spoilers. Yes. We will give away plot points. We will give away the ending to season 1. So if you want to save that, stop watching us now. I apologize.
And put me back on the screen.
You're already back on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. I think you should dress up in full Star Trek garb. Did you not watch a couple Halloweens ago when I showed up in a full Star Trek uniform?
Yeah. Have you not seen him like do unboxings with his batleth or now that was Rhett dancing around? There was that one time.
Yeah, that was Rhett dancing with the batleth. That was me with the Doc Tog.
Yeah.
Opening stuff. Yeah.
Well, I thought you opened one with batleth, didn't you?
I think I opened a desk with the batleth.
Yeah.
If I remember right. Yeah. All right. So.
Or do you not see the Klingon blood wine in Jeff's background?
Right. It's right there. All right. So Star Trek Lower Decks. Let's start with like overall thoughts. What did we think about it?
I actually have a couple things, or one thing I will say.
Because this is a full new medium for Star Trek. They've done an animated series before, but that was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
This is uncharted territory.
So,
especially not taking themselves seriously.
Yeah.
And making fun of themselves.
I'm going to start off really quick before there's spoilers. I'll go with episode 1. And or not even just episode 1, just the first 2 minutes of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed the intro.
Yes.
Really enjoyed the intro. I really appreciated the music that they went with. Thought it was very reminiscent of the original, not original series, but the ones that we remember as the original, the early 80s and 90s and early 2000s. Very orchestratic type things, to where then the Enterprise had lyrics and a rock band singing.
Yeah.
And then Discovery kind of tried to go back. It just didn't quite mesh. Even Picard's intro was better, was a lot better, but still wasn't as anything. But I really like this as it.
Yeah,
almost
I thought Picard's intro really suited Picard.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's a series about him. Yeah. And so I thought the intro to Star Trek Picard sold that. I think you're right. Enterprise was a little weird. Discovery tried to kind of pull it back a little bit, but it's still, I don't think, quite fits with what Star Trek has traditionally been, and I don't think the intro for Discovery fits what Discovery is trying to be.
Yeah.
Versus Lower Decks, I think they freaking nailed it. What we're talking about is the cinematic, spaceship flying through space credit roll. Yeah. In the beginning.
And what I love is the more you actually watch it, and so there's the orchestratic part of it, which is, I think, a really good, arrangement. But then the visuals are almost making fun of all the other previous series.
Yes.
Because there's all these scenes or very similar parts, but then somehow the spaceship messes up or something catastrophic is going on. There's this beautiful sun or a black hole, and they get sucked into it. There's this scene where they're floating.
They're scraping on the asteroid. That's one of my favorites.
just like Voyager, but then they start scraping on it. There is they're flying by, and then you see this alien sucking on their warp core, their warp nacelle, just like in TNG.
The intro is great.
The intro is great. I was like, this is perfect. It got me sold on that,
and it sells the brand of comedy that they're selling. It really does. I love that they're not taking themselves seriously. In fact, they're also not afraid to make fun of everything within Star Trek. The opening scene is Boimler talking with Mariner, and Mariner is drunk on Romulan ale. And he goes, "Isn't that illegal?" And she goes, "Well, yeah, that's why it's awesome. That's why it's illegal."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Ooh, I found this batleth. I beat a Klingon to death and won it." And he goes, "Is that dried blood?" And she's like swinging it all around. And the ending to the scene is she like cuts the front of his shin off.
Yeah.
And they're both looking at it and go, ah, and then it cuts to the intro.
Yeah. Oh,
and it's like wonderful.
That's wonderful. It's like, oh, that's perfect. That is quintessential. Mm-hmm. That's what I want. All of these almost seems like fresh cadets that got the crappy jobs, that got stuck. That graduated bottom of the class, essentially, that are trying to work their way up. So the ones that got top class but got the worst picks. Type of thing.
And the Cerritos is not the Federation flagship. It is not the space station that's out on the front lines defending the wormhole, overseeing peace negotiations between Bajor and Cardassia. It's not a ship that's been flung to the outer reaches of space. It's a lower tier support vessel.
Yeah.
And so you've got lower deckers serving on the Cerritos with a captain who isn't respected as much as, say, Captain James T. Riker, or William T. Riker of the Titan, or Jean-Luc Picard of the Enterprise, or and so on and so forth.
I love that. Basically, their prime mission is, and I love how they do it, is second contact.
Second contact.
So they're the one that finalizes all the print on the negotiation, the treaties, and the negotiations and everything. So they go a couple months after all the big ships and famous ships, and then they're like, we're the support team.
Right.
And I thought that was actually pretty clever, because there was always there's a couple episodes of miscommunication of how that species works, or type things. The intros were very good and very clever with that. So I like that.
Absolutely. So the very first episode is called Second Contact, and they're making second contact with the species. And Mariner is sending down supplies, and is that the one where she was selling the supplies to the?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Something like that. I think so.
Yes.
Yes.
So they're making second contact with the species. Well, they're also not supposed to involve themselves in the affairs of the species or give them technology or anything like that. They're simply supposed to say, "Hi, we exist. We acknowledge you exist. Welcome," kind of thing. Well, they didn't have very good farming equipment, and everything was in a drought, and so Mariner was beaming down supplies off the Cerritos to give the people, and Boimler is the stand-up, officer, by the books kind of guy.
Trying to go up the ranks.
Right. And, trying to, follow rank and file. And he ends up getting sucked on by some alien for the duration of it, loses his uniform, ends up standing naked in the middle of a field, and plays on the whole comedy aspect of it. And I thought episode 1 was fantastic. I thought it did a great job Captain James T. Riker. Thank you. I'm not the one who made them share a middle initial. That was poor thinking on behalf of the Gene Roddenberry. So, yeah, I said it.
Well, actually, I don't know if he had a middle name in the first 3 seasons. Did he?
Riker?
What wasn't it? It was Tiberius.
James Tiberius Kirk.
Yeah. So, and then that one, but what was Riker's?
It was William T. Riker.
But what was the T?
I don't remember.
It was Thomas. It was Thomas.
That's right.
Duh. There's a whole other character.
Mr. Transporter clone.
Yeah. Thomas. Okay.
Lieutenant Thomas. Former Federation officer, Lieutenant Thomas Riker, now Maquis, and now Cardassian and Dominion prisoner.
Yes. He could have escaped and done his time.
Mm-hmm.
So Mariner, and then ends up, we also find out that during episode 1 that she is the daughter of the captain. And so she's kind of been bounced back and forth because her father is also a captain of
an admiral.
Or an admiral, but he's also part of like a pretty, I believe he's on a pretty famous ship, or one of the more important ships.
Yeah.
And so she bounces back and forth between them, and so it was more of a punishment to go to this ship, type of a thing. So she's the seasoned Starfleet officer that knows everything but doesn't want to rank up and just wants to goof off all the time because she loves just like the cool bootleg stuff you can get.
Yeah. Which we find out later she gets from Riker. Which is hilarious.
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoilers. Deanna going, "We're going to talk about this later."
Communication.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was so I thought episode 1 was really, really good. We also meet a couple side characters. There's not a cyborg, but an engineer who has an implant. I forget these characters' names. Rutherford. There is a what are those green aliens that always steal people, the slaves?
Orions.
Orions, yes. There's an Orion that's a medic.
Mm-hmm.
And
Tindy, I believe is her name.
So those are the 4 main characters essentially.
I came prepared.
My bad. Whatever. So so overall, I thought the series was pretty good. There were some hit and miss. I think this is a really good. I had a lot of fun with this series. I thought it was a very good introduction. I thought some of the best humor is actually you have to know Star Trek. You really have to know your Star Trek lore, and it's the background stuff.
Yeah.
You watch a lot of the background stuff, and a lot of the jokes are actually in the background or the scenery of what's going on. This particular alien, you have to understand this alien race, of where they came from in the Star Trek universe to really understand what's going on. Like the second episode, she has to transport a Klingon ambassador, and he gets really drunk. because Klingons love to drink, and she's also buddies with him, so they go on this drinking rampage, but then they get hungover and can't find him. So that, there's a lot of really cool things in there. There's
a whole bunch of references to eras gone by in Star Trek. I think in episode 9, Rutherford was being attacked by the Gorn at one point.
Oh yeah, he was at a Gorn wedding.
Yeah, he was at a Gorn wedding. What else did they do? I think in the beginning of that episode, they were making second contact with a species that was originally seen in the original series. Yeah,
it was like some farming old Western community that had a computer.
Right. Yeah, they were worshiping the computer, and they're like, you don't have to worship the computer.
And we told you not to do this. It's just so nice and comforting.
Right, exactly. Well, they beam back on the ship, and the first officer is talking to the captain, and he's like, yeah, it's always nice to make second contact back from those old TOS guys. And TOS is the original series. And it's just like TOS, and it's like, yep, that's what I call them, those old scientists.
Yeah.
Completely just making fun of the nomenclature. But
yeah.
It's all kinds of references like that.
Speaking of making fun of, there was like episode 5 or 6 where they get captured and they have to do this. Meredith and the first officer get captured and they have to do a fight to the duel, but they introduce like double hand punch, and the first officer like constantly refers to like the double hand punch as the ultimate fighting maneuver that like just obliterates everyone. It's like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Yep. Gosh, and yeah, the we'll just call it the tension. We'll say the unspoken tension between Mariner and the first officer.
Yeah.
Ransom, I guess his name is. In that episode, they hate each other because Ransom he likes to be rank and file, but at the same time he also likes to break the rules. But Mariner just blatantly breaks the rules, and he doesn't like that. And during that whole episode, they were imprisoned together, and every time the other one walked off the screen, they're going, wow, that was kind of hot.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a like 10 episode season.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like 6 or 7 episodes were really good.
Yes.
2 or 3 were like,
yeah. There really wasn't a bad one. In fact, they probably did the best with what they could with a holodeck episode.
Yeah.
And I can't believe I'm saying that.
I know the killer holodeck.
I'm Badgie.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, it was voiced by McBrayer.
Yeah. I know who it is.
Jack McBrayer.
Jack McBrayer. Yeah, he does a lot of. I mean, he's the same voice all the time, so it's just him. It is. But yeah, it's hilarious. It's like a training video because they don't. One of the officers doesn't remember how to do spacewalking.
Yeah.
And so
would you like some training today?
Yeah,
exactly. And then they turn off the holodeck safeties fail.
Now just like classic Star Trek, something goes wrong somewhere else, and so all of the safety features turn off on the holodeck.
The safety features turn off, and all of a sudden Badger goes, "Would you like me to kill you today?"
Yeah. I think it was like episode 2 or 3. There was the zombie fight. Throughout the whole entire deck or the whole entire spaceship. I thought that was hilarious of how they had to like fight their way through everything, and then they had to even go on a spacewalk.
Yeah.
Referencing or the movie First Contact and everything like that. It was hilarious. Yeah, there's a lot of just subtle references.
Let's see. Probably my favorite reference, and actually Novella Hub brought it up before I could get to it. But thank you for Novella Hub for the $5 donation. But Wolf 359 was an inside job.
Oh yeah.
Are you meaning to tell me that the most decorated Starfleet captain of all time just happened to be on the ship that was attacking Wolf 359 and drove it into oblivion? A reference to Picard being assimilated by the Borg and blowing up the space station at Wolf 359, in which Cisco was serving as a commander and ended up having his wife Jennifer killed on that station, as well as numerous starships. Or I guess it was Sector Wolf 359. It was the battle that took place at Wolf 359. But yeah, Wolf 359 was an inside job. And then he also, changelings aren't real. And the Dominion War was something as he walked off screen.
Yeah.
So that was in the season finale. And I thought they did a really good job at sprinkling in the references for comedic effect, but still telling their own stories, not going back and just rehashing something that's been done time and time again. And in fact, they made fun of those things that were just rehashed time and time again.
Yeah.
They made fun of Q.
Oh gosh, yeah,
a couple of different times,
which they actually brought back.
Right, John Delancey.
Yeah, yeah, and original outfit of Q too.
Yeah,
that was episode
putting
1.
humanity on trial.
Yeah, not now, Q. Aw, you're not as fun.
I don't have time for your Q bullshit right now.
Yeah. You're not as fun as Jean-Luc.
Oh, come on, Mariner.
Yeah, there's a lot of good references on that.
Mm-hmm. And not only the reference where they brought him back, but the references they talked about him.
Yeah.
Where there was a Q and he did it.
Oh yeah,
I think
where
at one
point. The one officer kept making excuses. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Overall, I thought it was very, very well done. When it was first announced, I was anxious. I was not anticipating greatness. Quite honestly, I think episode for episode, probably better than Picard. And I only say that because my overall feeling of Picard was B-C+, because I felt like it was 6 episodes stretched into 10.
Yeah.
And it should have been shorter. It should have been a miniseries. It should have been 3 2-hour shorts. First act, second act, third act. Instead, we got a couple of episodes just drawn out. The whole reunion with Elnor, the whole the parent situation with Raffi going to the space station and seeing her kid with a pregnant fiance. It's like, and that did what to the story overall?
Yeah.
It did absolutely nothing for her character. We already knew she was a drug addict. You showed us that in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. Didn't they?
What did this do to further the story? It did absolutely nothing.
Sorry, one of my other favorite jokes. Didn't they make fun of
Jean-Luc only responds in Shakespeare?
Yeah, but didn't they make fun
Shakespeare?
Of the Crusher episode where she falls in love with the ghost?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
What about Picard when he did this? And what about Beverly when she went to that planet and fell in love with the alien ghost?
It's not as bad as that. So I think the problem is I thought going back to what you were saying when it was first introduced, it kind of was almost spun off as like, oh, this is going to be Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty meets Star Trek.
Rick and Morty, and it's not that. Mm-hmm. And if you're going into the perception that this is going to be that zany Rick and Morty parallel universes, everything's up for game. It's not that.
There's still rules that they follow.
There's still rules that they follow. So it's a little duller than Rick and Morty.
Right.
The animation is very similar, so that kind of tricks you into thinking it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's the very slender bodies with a little bit of an exaggerated head.
Yeah.
It's more of the cell-shaded kind of look where there's not a lot of shading done.
Yeah.
It's very simple lighting and shading effects.
Yeah, it's like 2D. There's not three-dimensional, three different shades of any kind. I think there might be like 1 or 2 scenes where for dramatic effect, but...
Do you know my favorite episode of the series? Let's go over our favorite episodes.
Well, okay.
So, what was your favorite episode, John? Let's start with that.
Honestly, it was the last one. The last one?
10 was really great.
The last one was my favorite episode. 1 and 10 were probably my 2 favorite.
I have to say 9, the movie. The movie inside the holodeck.
The movie inside the holodeck, which is another great holodeck.
They did 2 holodeck episodes out of 10, and they were both fantastic.
Yeah.
Name another good holodeck thing. do you want to go back and see Moriarty or
I don't mind
Fairhaven?
I don't mind the Moriarty episode. One of them, anyways.
But it's not great.
It's not great. No,
I
was
both of them were great.
Yeah.
But episode 9 is probably my favorite because it's the classic setup of holodeck safeties are off, but they didn't turn the holodeck safeties off. You're not going to die in this one. There was nothing at risk. It was character development only.
Yeah.
Which is a lot like the Robin Hood episode or the Moriarty episodes, or, you know, there was nothing to risk there. It was just you're in there for fun, and the fun got a little out of hand.
The fun, and you understand the characters more and why they're doing the things they do.
Right, exactly. And so the setup is that Boimler, the ensign who's rank and file and wants a promotion, is trying to practice for his interview with the captain, like an annual review or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's applying for a promotion.
There's a promotion coming up, and he's got an interview to apply for it.
Right.
So he wrote an algorithm based on
to scrape all of the personal logs of everyone on the ship and recreate them on the Cerritos in the holodeck.
Theoretically, perfectly.
Right.
According to like a Barclay simulation.
Yes, exactly. Barclay simulation without the biocontainer cleanup.
Yeah.
Or I guess, no, it's actually more like a Barclay simulation once you throw Mariner into it, isn't it?
That's what I was saying.
Sorry, I was thinking of LaForge simulation. Which I don't know how he ever got away with that. Because that's way more in line with Barclay's character. Anyway, so it's a Barclay simulation where you can go and beat the hell out of his superiors and whatever. So Mariner all of a sudden in 30 seconds writes a script, and all of a sudden they're inside a movie. And I love that they all of a sudden went like lens flares over the top and a dramatic 60-second ship intro. She's a beautiful lady.
Oh yeah, it was they made fun of J.J. Abrams. They made fun of the Star Trek motion picture.
Yep.
In within 60 seconds.
Yep.
It was hilarious.
So they're like, and there she is. There's the Cerritos, and they're in a shuttlecraft approaching it, and you get a couple of like cinematic shots and a bunch of lens flares, and you're going, okay, that's pretty cool. And I see what they're doing. They're making fun of it, but then it just keeps going and keeps going, and then the camera angles get weirder and weirder. In fact, there's one that's sitting on top of the saucer section, and it's just spinning in a circle.
Yeah. That was pretty funny.
So that one was hilarious. And it ends up being that Mariner is the daughter of the captain, of Captain Freeman. And she ends up like, the captain sends her to therapy because she thinks she needs therapy because she's, slacking off and you need to be an officer and whatnot. So she starts up this program and decides she's just going to beat the living hell out of everyone on the ship. And so she plays the part of this enemy that has infiltrated the ship, and she's just shooting all of her crewmates, and it freaks everyone else out. So everyone else like kind of bails out of it, and ends up having like this epic duel with the captain in which Mariner, the hologram, ends up coming in and kicking the ass of Mariner, the actual person, and giving her a psychological look at herself and who she actually is. And she goes, "Wow, therapy is great." It's kind of like Futurama meets Star Trek, and I would more equate it to that. Or as T-Cos points out, Rick and Morty is to Star Trek Lower Decks as Futurama is to Jetsons. I would actually equate Lower Decks comedy a lot like Futurama. As far as delivery, as far as pacing.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
It's not quite as outlandish as Rick and Morty.
It's not as outlandish, but the pacing, the subtlety, the background stuff, yes, a lot more like that. But you really have to know. To our Futurama, as you just have to be kind of a nerd. This you have to know Star Trek.
Well, you have to know Star Trek to get all of it. But I will say, my wife did like watching it with me, even when it was some obscure references, because the show itself is still good. Yes. And you can still watch the show even if you don't know what Star Trek is. You'll get it pretty darn quick. And she watched Picard with me, and she's watched some Next Generation and some DS9, but she is not a fully fledged fanatic. She's not watched every episode like John and I have. Multiple times, right. And she enjoyed it. She enjoyed Picard too. So it's not to take anything away from that as well. But
yeah. So I really enjoyed this. I give this like currently I give this a solid B. Mm-hmm. But I think this is definitely worth a rewatch, like a lot of the new Star Treks have been. Mm-hmm. And my opinion,
I was landing on a pretty solid B+, because they got, I think, 7.
It's going to bump it up to a B+, A-.
Yeah, and I think 8 was kind of like, eh. And then there's only 2 episodes that I didn't think were good, or very good. They're still watchable. Yeah. So you hit 7 out of 10 with A's, and I'll take that. I'll take that for a first run series.
Yeah. And you know, well, so the reason why, kind of going back to what's our favorite episode, the episode 10 for me was there was humor. And also on top of it, there actually was consequences. There was something going on. There was conflict. It was a really good balanced Star Trek episode.
Yes. It was balanced very well with the humor, but there was still a great story underneath it.
Exactly.
And that's where shows like Futurama and Rick and Morty season 4 got into a lot of trouble, is they said, the hell all with the story, let's just try to be funny.
Yeah.
And Futurama season 6 and 7, when they brought it back for Comedy Central, were some of the worst episodes ever. Now they had, it's just the disparity of the episodes got like this, where Futurama used to sit like right here, like the lows weren't all that low and the goods were really freaking good.
Yeah.
The disparity went like this with Futurama. And I feel the same way for Rick and Morty, but for Rick and Morty season 4, I'm giving that like a D, if I'm being friendly, because I thought there were only 2 great episodes. And there were only like 4 that were good. Because there's some crap in there. I like the Rattlestar.
I love the Rattlestar.
That one's funny, but it's not great. It's funny.
Oh no, I watched that one at least 3 or 4 times.
So have I. I thought it was funny, but not great. And then the Vat of Acid episode, I think, was fantastic.
Oh, that was
and the Beth episode was fantastic. The Beth clone episode. Those were the 2 winners out of the whole season.
Yeah, I didn't really care for like the poop episode.
The poop episode was stupid. Gosh, there was the I effed a planet episode 9.
Oh yeah, that was a dumb one.
That was a dumb one. There were some funny moments in it. But again, the characters were all out of their lanes, and that's my biggest problem, is you're telling a story that happens to have these characters in it instead of having the characters live through a story. Those are 2 very different things in writing. And I've said it about Futurama, where all of a sudden the characters were just vehicles for jokes, and any character will do, rather than you're writing jokes for characters.
Yeah.
To me, season 4 of Rick and Morty was pretty much a bust. I thought there were 2 great episodes that were classic, great Rick and Morty. Because you look at the first 3 seasons, and I give the first 3 seasons, and actually season 3, I give an A. Seasons 1 and 2, I give a solid BB+. Because 8 out of 10 are infinitely rewatchable.
I think season 4,
the dragon episode. John.
I love the dragon episode.
The dragon episode was absolute shite.
I thought it was stupid the first time, and then the second time
I've rewatched it 4 times.
I laughed.
It was absolute shite every
hard.
time. Maybe I wasn't drunk enough. Maybe I wasn't high enough.
And that may be your problem, because I'm watching.
But the problem is,
after
when I've watched Rick and Morty seasons 1 through 3. And it's got an 80% hit rate, and season 3 had a 90%. There's only 1 episode in season 3 I don't like, out of the 10 to 12 episodes per season. And then season 4 comes along, and I'm like, I could watch 2 of these again.
Yeah, well, I also think they also got they had their bigger budget. They had a lot of.
So did they fire all the writers and give all the voice actors the pay?
I think they were just trying to do so much because there was also a big hiatus with 3 and 4. And I think they were.
There's been a big hiatus in between them all.
In 1 and 2, there wasn't that big of a hiatus. Actually,
2 and 3, there was 3.5 years.
Yeah, 2 and 3, that was a huge part. But between 3 and 4, there was another year and a half.
You know what? I watched season 3 above your bar filming my shows.
Oh, I remember. Yes.
That's when season 3 debuted.
I know.
And so it's been since then. Since we've had season 4.
Well, maybe they had to keep rewriting stuff. I don't know, but
season 4 was awful. Overall, it was not as good.
Okay, that's fine. I would not put though. I'm going to ding Lower Decks here. I wouldn't put Lower Decks season 1 up against Rick and Morty season 1.
I would.
I wouldn't say it's as good. I would say Lower Decks season 1. Actually, I would even put Futurama a hair. Season 1 of Futurama a hair above Lower Decks. Just a hair. Not much, but just a hair.
I'd have to go back and look at the episodes. In fact, let me pull up Futurama. Because I'm curious. You got me curious.
It's a good... I think season 1 of Lower Decks is a good start. And it's a really good base that can build off of, and they make some really good humor and bringing back some really good characters. Yeah. And even some old characters, or even just old alien races, and make fun of them.
Right. And I thought, whenever you can make fun of yourself in spite of yourself, it's good comedy. Mm-hmm. And I thought they did a great job. Okay, so there were 9 episodes in Futurama season 1. There's Space Pilot, which was great. Okay. The series has landed. We're sailors on the moon.
Was okay.
It was okay. iRoommate, I thought was pretty good. That's the Bender has an apartment and they end up living in the closet.
Yeah, I thought
that was pretty good. And the cell phone reception or the TV reception
he had to snip off his little Bender.
Right. Bink. Yeah. Love's Labor's Lost in Space, in which Tarango Leela bangs Zap Brannigan.
Classic.
Okay.
Come on.
Fear the Bot Planet, where they dress up as robots to
kill all humans, and he goes into the porno shop, but it's a printed porn store. Okay.
Fishful of Dollars, in which Fry buys the anchovies and has $1 billion. I thought that one was pretty funny.
That was pretty funny.
You can't sit in your apartment listening to classical music all day. I like big.
Yeah. I mean, that's where that one.
I have it. Yeah, I have an emoji with that. Yeah. My Three Sons. Fry is a god king on a liquid planet.
Yeah.
Very good. Big piece of garbage. I'm okay with that one.
That one was okay.
That was okay. Hell is the other robot. That is Bender Goes to Robot Hell.
That's a great classic
That's a great one. I'll agree with you. Lower Decks, not as good as Futurama Season 1. Because Futurama Season 1, I've got 7 out of 9 instead of 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
How's that?
So again, that's why I said it's a hair. I said it was a hair.
And I only give a half point to Fear the Bot Planet, though. That's not my favorite. I thought it was a little subpar.
There are subpar, but there's some really good jokes in there.
There are some really good jokes.
And just like that's the thing with Futurama Season 1 was the episodes may not have been good, but there are some really good classic jokes.
Yeah, you're right. Because episode 2 has the I'll build my own theme park with blackjack and hookers.
How we use that all the time.
Yeah. One of the classic Bender jokes. And what's really funny is Bender doesn't find his voice the entire first season. John Maggio for Bender is still looking for Bender.
Yeah, I mean, he has an interview where he's like, it took me forever to I think it took him till season 3 to actually find it.
Yeah, to know what Bender is and what sound he should be. Because he is very... not grungy, but lower and slower.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy. That's Bender in season 1.
He sounds more New Yorker, deeper voice, not as raspy.
He's a New Jersey guy trying to make fun of a New York guy.
Yeah.
Is what he is, right. And so to me, that kind of makes season 1 of Futurama a little difficult to watch because the voices are so far off. Farnsworth isn't found either. He's still the old rickety old man instead of the
crazy
bitter
scientist.
old man.
Yeah.
The bitter crazy scientist.
Yeah, Zoidberg's not even really in it.
Yeah. Exactly. And so the characters all through season 1 did not know what their voices were. Fry and Leela were the only well fleshed out characters in the whole thing. They still told fantastic stories and still had some of the best jokes of the franchise. So, again, to me, 7 out of 9.
But that's why I said Lower Decks season 1, really, really good base to build upon. Yeah. I am so looking forward to season 2. I think season 1 was a huge success. Again, too, we never talked about spoilers, but end of episode 10, like we said, there was conflict. There was conflict with the I forget what race that was. That basically they kidnapped Geordie LaForge because they kept stealing tech, and they ended up, because the Federation found them to be so weak, they ended up stealing so much tech that they became strong. We strong now.
There's another Enterprise.
That's so great. and then Captain Riker comes in, swoops in the Titan, which was the first time we actually get to see Captain Riker. In the Titan, commanding the Titan. And we see him with Deanna, and he just the Titan obliterates all of them. And then he communicates.
I don't know why Rick and Morty just started playing in my ear, but it did. So I brought up my Plex library so I could look at Rick and Morty season 1 because I was curious. Okay.
Rick and Morty season looks good.
So here's Rick and Morty season 1, and again we'll use this as a comparison point because that comparison point has been made. It's the Rick and Morty of Star Trek. Okay. Yeah. We have the pilot, which was
the seeds,
the mega seeds, and trying to get them through customs because you got to put them way up in your butthole. What's that? Oh, it's a machine that can sense things way up in your butt. Run, Morty!
Oh, run, Morty!
Right. Great episode.
Okay. The student has become the master, Morty. Thanks.
Yeah. So, and again, Rick and Morty as the voices, and again, it's one guy, it's Justin Roiland doing both voices.
Yeah.
They're not quite found, but they're found rather quickly. By episode 4, you know who they are.
Yeah.
I would say. Episode 2, Lawnmower Dog.
Love that episode.
You will no longer call me Snuffles. That is my slave name. I am Snowflake because my fur is soft and white.
The dogs,
Yeah. Great episode. Anatomy Park.
Oh, the great Christmas
Great episode.
Yeah.
With John Oliver as Dr. Xenon Bloom. Great episode. Yeah. M. Night Shyamalan's the simulation within a simulation within a simulation, trying to get one over on Rick.
Again, great episode.
Yeah. Morty, keep your hands off your ding dong. Great episode. So we're 4 for 4, and that's rare in a first series.
Oh yeah.
Meeseeks and Destroy. Meeseeks with Jerry, and
Mr.
then Rick and Morty are off on the giant adventure because Morty gets to pick one in every 10.
Yeah.
Right. Another great episode.
Oh gosh, yes. Rick Potion number 9.
Rick Potion number 9.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It does lead up though. They do build off of that one. I will admit.
I can only do this 2 or 3 times, Morty. We can only jump. Again, the fourth wall breaks are great, but Rick Potion number 9. They destroy the world, turn everyone into Cronenbergs, and the whole thing. Again, the characters just don't seem like they have voices in this one. They're vehicles, but they're not characters.
Yeah,
they're just weird. Raising Gazorpazorp. It's one of my least favorite episodes. That's Morty has a baby with the baby maker.
There
are some good moments in that one, more on the Rick and Summer path. Less so with the Morty being a parent and raising a bloodthirsty alien path. I like moments of this one, but the whole episode I'm not a fan of.
No. Episode 8, best episode of the season.
60 Minutes. Yes. Interdimensional cable, and then Jerry and Beth coming to the realization that they should love each other because in every dimension they love each other and they realize the other person got away.
Yeah.
Fantastic episode through and through. Something Rick comes this way, the Plutonian mining.
And the Rick versus the Devil.
Yes.
Both of those. The moon's a planet!
Yeah. Pluto's an effing planet!
Yeah. Oh yeah, Pluto. Sorry, I said the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pluto's a cold, cold celestial dwarf. A what? I said Pluto's a planet. A cold, cold planet. Knock 'em dead, you. I don't think it's the best of the series, but I do put it up there more with the first 5 rather than episode 6 and 7.
I like it. There's enough.
It's still
really
good. It's still good. It's still
really
watchable.
Good. Yeah.
Close Encounters of the Rick Kind. The Citadel of Ricks.
Oh.
Opening scene is Rick is shot by Rick through the head and Morty's abducted.
Citadel of Ricks is fantastic.
Yes. And then Risky Business with the Summer wants to throw a party. You can't throw a party. Why not? Because I'm throwing a party.
Yeah. We do. Yo.
Yeah. I'm gonna get riggedy wrecked, son. Yeah.
And
Abraham Winkler.
Yeah. So we're talking 2 episodes.
Two and a half. I'm gonna give a half to the Pluto episode.
So
I like the Devil timeline. I'm not a fan of the Pluto.
Oh, I love the Pluto timeline.
It had moments, but to me, it just still wasn't as good. I hate to put it up with those first 5.
It brought Jerry, but it also brought us what Jerry is, more Jerry.
That is very true.
So, okay, fine, but that's still out of 11.
Out of 11, you got 8.5.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
That's above Futurama.
No, you got 8.5. That's right.
Yeah,
sorry, my math was off for a second. 8.5. Yeah.
So that,
and like I said, out of Lower Deck, 7 out of 10.
So like I said,
it's right in there, or 7.5 out of 10. It's right in there.
It's a good base. It's a good base. I'm not complaining with the base, but at the same time too, it's not the same humor as Rick and Morty. It's not the same. Like you were saying, it's a bit more similar to Futurama. You have to understand a little bit more. There's humor in it and you'll understand even more if you like Star Trek. Mm-hmm. So for people who don't know Star Trek, like you said, your wife, when you watch it, I don't know if she would rate it as high as, say, Futurama. I don't know if your wife liked Futurama or Rick and Morty.
We love Futurama. Rick and Morty, American Dad, those are all on replay on our TV.
Yeah, exactly. So if you asked your wife, though, who's not a huge Star Trek fan, what is it then? Where does it rank? She might say something different.
I think she's only seen 4 of the episodes of Lower Decks with me, and I don't remember which ones. So I definitely want to watch them again. And I'd like to watch them with her and kind of get her impression of it from a non-Star Trek fan.
Yeah. No, I think, like I said, if I rewatch them again, I probably will. I'll enjoy them probably even more so. Because I'll get to watch them all throughout, and I really don't have to pay attention to the plot. I get to enjoy some of the smaller things. I really enjoyed. Did you notice that there were so many Geordie LaForge glasses? People?
Oh yeah, it showed up 5 or 6 times.
Exactly. There was a bunch of
Which, by the way, by that time, Geordie already had the implants.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. There's all the sub characters who the chief security chief was a Bajoran, who had a temper tantrum. I know. So like I said,
that was hard.
Season 10, I think they're going to bring episode 10. Sorry, something bad happens. I think they'll bring him back, and the classic Star Trek,
Genesis Planet
type thing, or he becomes a bad guy. He becomes a bad guy, type of a thing.
I love the homage to him. He's up in heaven ejecting warp cores and yelling at the top of his lungs now.
Yeah. So, and then the Doctor is very Bones-esque, but is a completely different.
Is a cat.
Is a cat.
Do you know how hard it is to get nacho cheese out of fur?
Yeah, I like in episode 9, like you were talking about, the counselor. Counseling's for the 80s. What are you talking about?
Yes. All he does is make food references. Well, this is quite a pickle we have ourselves in.
Yeah.
You've certainly caused a fruit salad of problems over here.
Yeah. I do think the humor progress.
That's a hard nut to crack.
Throughout, I think just the standard humor of non-Star Trek references progressed throughout the season as well.
Yes, I agree with that.
But now, actually, kind of still on topic, but slightly different though, is actually Star Trek as a whole, especially starting tomorrow. Season 3 of Discovery is starting. And are you big? Have you watched all of 2?
No.
Me neither.
I've tried.
I tried. I really did.
I can't get into it, and I enjoyed 50% of Enterprise.
Yeah. No,
I'm having a hard time.
I'm like 75. I'm having a hard time
getting into Discovery.
I'm gonna give Discovery. I watched all of season 1. I watched half of season 2, and I was like, I can't take this anymore.
I can't. Right.
It's so bad. But
as soon as you start saying there was a sequel exploit in our warp core,
yeah,
which is a direct quote if I remember it correctly. I'm sorry, if sequel still exists in the 24th century, I'm tapping out.
When they say an SQL command, it's beating them. Come on. Seriously?
You need to sanitize your comm inputs.
But I will say, so
what is this, 2003?
Yeah, spoiler again. End of season 2. I haven't watched it, but I know they traveled to the way distant future.
Yes.
And apparently the Federation no longer exists. And they're in a really old Federation, apparently the last Federation ship now. It kind of appeals to me. I kind of now it's different because they're no longer in the James T. Kirk era. Mm-hmm. Which they were supposed to be in, like, what, 3 years before Kirk entered, or
the Enterprise.
The Enterprise, which the Enterprise is in it, but it's commanded by what's his face, Captain Pike. Which I liked his character in season 2, but he was only in half of them. And I'm really happy. So apparently they're creating a whole new series.
Drop table warp core containment.
Was that what it was called?
No. Someone just said in comments, drop table warp core containment.
So yeah, but apparently they're making a whole Star Trek Strange New World, which is the Enterprise original base, but all Captain Pike and young Spock. Yeah. Could be interesting. There's a Section 31, which is supposed to be the origin of Section 31. Mm-hmm. Kind of interesting, but I don't like the way they did Section 31 in Discovery. Yep. So, but I do, and then there's also a Nickelodeon, which here is an interesting bring back of a character. There's a Nickelodeon's Prodigy, so we're kind of thinking
Star Trek Prodigy.
So Star Trek Prodigy, sorry, but Wesley Crusher type, thing, and
junior cadets, ensigns, young recruits, Starfleet Academy, and it's going to be aimed at kids.
And it's
Captain. Should I say it or should you?
You go ahead, say it.
Okay. So, Captain Catherine Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, will be reprising her role for Star Trek Prodigy.
So that'll be cool. That'll be interesting to see. Heck, if I can get my 4-year-old into it, that'd be kind of a fun little thing. Like, oh yeah, I know that character.
Yeah. Miss has been wanting to start watching Star Trek with me, and so I'm debating on which one I want to start her with. Do I start her with TNG or do I start her on DS9?
Why would you start her on DS9? That's a little dark.
Because it's better, but it's darker.
It's super dark.
It's super dark, right? Even some of the earlier episodes are dark.
Yeah, it's
gritty. What, are you afraid to get your hands dirty, John?
No, I'm not gonna.
Typical Starfleet. Episode 1 reference.
So
you're supposed to pick up a girder and throw it aside and then go.
I really want a Harry Kim to still be an ensign in this.
I really do.
I want him to be like a teacher, but still
he's
Professor
ensign. Harry Kim, but still with one pip.
Yeah, Professor Ensign Harry Kim. That's what I really want. I was like, can they make that a joke, please?
I want him with 2 pips, but I want him to be a junior lieutenant. I want him with a gold and a black.
Yeah.
I'm Professor Harry Kim. Today we're going to be talking about...
Yeah.
He's just this broken 48-year-old.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's what I want to see. I'd actually, this wouldn't be bad as a whole, like, reference. Bring back a couple of Voyager people. You could have Tom Paris as being the flight instructor.
Yeah.
B'Elanna Torres being a warp core engineer. You could have. Actually, we can even see Lieutenant Barclay back
with transwarp theory at her disposal.
Yeah. We can have Lieutenant Barclay because technically he was supposed to be a professor.
Lieutenant Commander now.
Oh yes, that's right.
Remember, he was promoted.
Yes. So
$15 donation, John Farmer. Will you ever review your LCOM Huge? A lot of people have been asking about my trackball lately. I freaking love this trackball. I've been using this for 2 years now, I want to say. I've always been very much a trackball user, especially on like what is my primary daily driver machine. I used Logitech balls for years and years, but they don't make too many of them and they don't update them all that often because they're, well, not all that popular. And so I was looking for a new wireless trackball that wasn't just the standard Logitech 2-fingered one with a scroll wheel. And I came across this. This is the LCOM Huge. It is a fully programmable wireless trackpad. Your fingers actually control the ball. And then you've got your right click over here with a secondary programmable button over here. You've got 2 more programmable buttons on the top. Your standard click is your thumb. So your left click, yes, is your thumb. And then you've also got your forward and back, and your scroll wheel is also on the thumb right there. Plus the scroll wheel has a click to it. It's wonderful. I freaking love this thing. And it's only $55. They make it in wired or wireless for about the same cost. I think it's like $52 and $58 for the 2 different versions. But they're free. I love this trackball. And the batteries last forever. Like I swap the batteries like once every 6 months. It's ridiculous. That's my review. I love this trackball.
I never got into trackballs.
I've used a couple of different ones before. In fact, I've used a number of different trackballs in my time, both finger-driven and thumb-driven. I used a thumb-driven one for a number of years. Logitech had one that was a thumb ball. And I liked that one, but not nearly as much as I like the finger-driven. I find the finger-driven ones are a lot more precise. In fact, I play games with this. I play shooters with this. I'm not quite as accurate as I am with a full mouse, but it's also not bad.
Yeah.
And I've gotten pretty good at like pretty pinpoint quick maneuvers with this mouse. I mean, it is my daily driver on this machine, and this machine is what I'm on most of the time for my channel. So
yeah, I got one of the. I actually got really used to some of those ergonomic stand-up ones. Or
you got the vertical mouse?
The vertical mouse.
Really?
It took me about a week, but afterwards, like, wow, because for a while my wrist started hurting, and yeah, someone always recommended use a trackball, and I used it was older, early 2000s, actually even early 90s trackballs. Back when they were just in the square pad and you used it and it was
oh, the old Kensington trackballs. Yeah.
I remember using those.
I have one of those still.
I hated those.
So
that always turned me off from trackballs. I just never liked the free flowing of like, oh, the trackball can just go.
I never fling it. It's honestly, my movement is this.
Yeah.
I don't fling it and let it roll. I'm using the trackball very much like I use a trackpad, where I'm moving to a point, but my point is 3-dimensional.
And I guess that's me. It's like I never like trackpads either, so I'm always thinking like, oh, this is like a rollerball on arcades,
See, I've also got the sensitivity turned way up, and just rolling 2 fingers, I can make it from the left side of my 1440p screen all the way over to the right side of my 1080p screen.
Yeah.
So two monitors covered with just this motion.
Yeah, and I think no matter what, any mouse is like, you give it a week and then you're used to it.
Right. Unless they suck. And I've used some pretty terrible trackballs. I've used some pretty terrible trackpads. I've used some pretty terrible mice.
Yeah, exactly. No, you need to have a pretty... I'd say you need to spend at least $35-$40 on a mouse if you're going to be serious about it. But I basically, my wrist started hurting, and ever since I bought a cheap one, it was like $20. I was like, oh, I got used to this, but the weight wasn't there, the sensitivity wasn't there, the button clicking was so weak. Finally, upgraded to a $45 version. It's like, this is good. It's got good weight, and I really like it for my everyday driver. Gaming, though, I still use a gaming mouse if I'm going to do something with. But
what's next, Jeff? Using the Air mouse? I own one, and I hate it. That's the Apple Air mouse.
Oh.
That you have to charge with a lightning cable by putting it into the bottom of the mouse, which means you can't use the mouse while it's charging.
Oh, no.
And it's one button, but it's a touchpad on top, and so your scroll is just using the middle finger on a piece of plastic in the middle.
I see.
And depending on which side you click on, it does a different click. Plus, you can do gestures on it. It's the stupidest damn thing ever. I tried to use one because I am a Mac user as well. I tried to use one. Freaking hated it. I used one for weeks and I still hate it.
I tried using one of those pen mice. You ever use one of those where it's shaped like a pen and you're supposed to draw?
I do have a couple graphics tablets. Yes.
Well, it's not a graphics tablet. It's actually a pen.
Right.
Where it basically is shaped like a pen, but the sensor is at the tip, so you can use your mouse pad. I was like, but you're always kind of like that. And
those are non-display graphics tablets, and the pen inputs are 1-to-1 inputs, and so there's no acceleration. The pad itself is actually mapped to a pixel on your screen. And so where you put your pen is where that dot is, or where your pointer is going to show up on your screen. And I own a couple of different ones, and yes, I do use them from time to time, but not as a primary driver. They are not for that. Did I miss the Lower Decks talk? Yes, all 50 minutes of it.
Yes. Let's see, hang on.
Trekkie47, fantastic name, by the way.
There we go. All right, I just posted the one I was talking about in Discord.
Oh, that one doesn't have a tablet to it.
Yes, it's not a tablet. So that one, it's a bit different. I bought that one. As you can see, it's not a very expensive one. But it was supposed to be super ergonomical, good for your wrists and everything like that. Hated it.
Yep.
One of those, a Facebook, hey, check out this advertisement. I see you're looking at new mice. Check this one out. And, Facebook sat there and read all my history. And I was like, all right, I'll buy it. It's $20.
Oh, excuse me.
Wow, surprisingly, out of the whole entire time, not too many people dropped while we were ranting about Star Trek.
I know. Yeah, no, we kept a pretty darn consistent audience. I was pretty happy with that.
Usually Star Trek talk usually dives down.
Yeah, we see it drop to about 50%. Only the hardcore users stay on. But no, we held a consistent 170 pretty much the whole time, which was amazing. In fact, we've gained since we started talking about it. We were at 166 when we started. So, yeah. Someone asked, do you have any interest in DAS solutions? I'm assuming you're talking about distributed antenna. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I do. I don't have any external buildings I'm trying to host at. I don't have any weird Wi-Fi needs aside from, mounting 2 or 3 points in my house. So.
I mean, Jeff, if you want to, I have a place that could use it.
Yeah, that is true. I don't think I can hit your house from here, though. There's kind of a mountain between us.
Well, you can always go to and install it at the farm.
Right. That's what I meant. You live on the wrong side of the hill. Have you seen the landmass between you and I? Go Google Earth and go lateral with it, and then look at my house, John.
I don't think so. I don't think there's a mountain between us.
Yes, there is. In fact, I'm in the mountain and I'm in the valley of that mountain. So I'm actually 100 feet below every road around me, like all four sides.
That's like a hill, not a mountain.
You can't shoot through it, though.
You get a big enough 200-foot tower.
I don't have the permits for that.
Drone it.
Yeah, just hover a drone above my house in perpetua.
Now there's an idea. That's a video I'd like to watch.
Oh, direct attached storage. Yeah. I like all kinds of storage.
Did you
yeah,
just okay.
Yeah, USB NAS solutions, wasn't sure what you meant by that acronym, but yeah, direct attached storage, directly hooking, storage arrays to your system. Absolutely. I don't know that I have much use for one here because I have 100 terabytes in my NAS and I have 10 gigs from that NAS and I can saturate that 10 gig link. But yeah, I like looking at stuff. It's fun.
I like stuff. Yeah, it's cool.
I like stuff. Stuff is cool. John needs to get on the Starlink beta. I kind of want on the Starlink beta. In fact, I applied for it. So, Jeff, what do you think of the used Ryzen 7 1700 from AliExpress? Can you do a video on them? I've looked at those. There's two different options. There's the Ryzen 7 1700, which is going for about 120, 125 on AliExpress. There's also the Ryzen 7 1700 Pro, which is going for 100 and change. The 1700 Pro is the exact same CPU without overclocking support. And here the hiccups come. But $100, 8 cores, 16 threads, 3.8 gigahertz max boost. We thought the 1600 AF was a good deal at $85. The 1700 Pro at $100 is a fantastic deal as well. And in fact, I've looked at possibly doing a video with the 1700. The problem is AMD boards have not depreciated in value at all. There's no such thing as a... dang it. There's no such thing as a used Ryzen board, AM4, B350, A320 even, for less than $60. And for that price, you can get a brand new B550 board. And so, to me, some of the value is lost because I still can't get a cheap platform for it. In fact, most of the boards that I see are $80 and up. So I suppose it's still a good deal, and it's probably a much better deal than going with something like a 2678 V3 and a Chinese X79 platform, because the Ryzen 7 1700 has way better single-threaded performance than a 2678 does, and I believe it ties it in multi-threaded performance. So you're getting the same multi-threaded performance, way better single-threaded performance, for about the same cost of entry minus the memory. So yes, I think they're a good deal. I think it could be better if motherboards were better on the used market. If you could get a B4 or a B350 for $40. Radical Rick, hold your breath and tighten all your muscles. Yeah, I know how to get rid of hiccups. Trust me, it doesn't work with me.
Jeff, it's like basically a common thing here.
It's a common thing. My diaphragm gets hiccups easily. And unlike a lot of I was a very, very good woodwind player in my time and have something like 140% of the average lung capacity. And my diaphragm is rock freaking solid. And when it decides to spasm, it physically hurts because it feels like getting punched in the chest every single time. So trust me, I know about hiccups. I get worse hiccups than you, and mine don't stop the way yours do.
Yeah, if you know anything about talking heads, trust me, he has the hiccups. He's tried it all live.
Yes. Typically, my move for getting rid of hiccups is actually laying flat on my back on a hard floor. that tends to help getting rid of my hiccups and expedite getting rid of them, but it's still not a silver bullet for them. Do you have any plans on revisiting anything in the realm of virtual reality? I freaking love virtual reality. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. In fact, I was supposed to be getting in some stuff from Pimax before the apocalypse of this year. I'll probably be doing some stuff for them for review very shortly. I'd like to get some stuff in a little pretty soon. And I want to start testing out like the knuckle controllers and some other stuff from them. So yes, I would love to do some more stuff with virtual reality. As long as people will watch it. My last VR piece that I did was one of the worst videos that I've posted in the last year, as far as viewability. No one watched it. And it was at the release of Half-Life Alyx, which
I watched it.
Right. Like I said, nobody watched it. And I released it the same week as Half-Life Alyx, and I tested it with Half-Life Alyx and titled it, "This is what I thought VR should look like 6 years ago," with Half-Life Alyx in the thumbnail and the title and everything else. And I think it has like 4,500 views today. It's literally one of the worst videos I've posted in the last year. Even though I thought it was one of my best analytical videos and setup videos and testing videos and whatnot. I did VR benchmarking, for crying out loud. Do you know how difficult VR benchmarking is?
Jeff, it's a passion.
Yeah. By the way, you got rid of my hiccups because you made me rant. So there we go.
Hey, there you go. And ranting is actually Jeff's #1 way of getting rid of hiccups.
That's right. So thank you for that. Anyway, it is 10 past the hour. John, you got anything else you want to talk about?
You know what? The only thing I got to say is probably the Discord is actually really cool. There's going to be possibly an after show. Usually there's always an after show, and there's always some really, really amazing channels on there. There's food, beverage, there's meme, there's car, there's trade, there's music, there's random chat. There's a specific channel just for Talking Heads time.
Yep. There's a buy sell trade page for users for posting your stuff for sale and buying stuff from other users. There's also a page for current deals for retail. So buying things off the internet to increase yourself. There's an engineering page, which is anything related to showing off your rig or your gear. That is your computer, your server stack, your home lab, your whatever you happen to be working on. As long as electricity flows through it, it is welcome there. Your 3D printer stuff, your maker stuff, whatever. Alyx is a dumb game because it's not Half-Life 3. The only reason I'm not going to ban you for that comment is because you've been around forever. But how dare you? Half-Life Alyx is a freaking amazing game. And Half-Life has never been about the gameplay. Although the gameplay has always been excellent, Half-Life as a series has always been a technical benchmark. Has always been, this is what we can do with the technology today. Pushing the limits of whatever hardware and software we have available to us. It's what Half-Life was. It's what Half-Life 2 was. It's not what Half-Life 2 episodes 2 and 3 were, or 1 and 2 were, but it is what Half-Life Alyx is again. It's the limits of what VR can let us do with the current software and hardware. And it happens to be a dang good game. It's not Half-Life 3. I don't know that we'll ever get a Half-Life 3. I said it. But don't you dare disparage what Half-Life Alyx is, because it's an amazing game. If you want to join the Discord and the super secret chat and the even more super secret after show, in which you can talk live with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, visit the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. Minimum donation of $1 per month gets you access to the exclusive Discord server. More is obviously appreciated, but any donation is very, very appreciated. How's that? I know I said appreciated twice, but I couldn't think of another word that meant, grateful, because I already said appreciated. Wasted it on the first one. You really do help me keep the lights on, and Patreon has become one of my #1 income sources over the last year or so. And as you know, I'm full-time, so you're literally helping me keep the lights on around here. And if you like the content that you see, that's one way to keep it coming. Make sure to subscribe to Hops and Brews. Link also down in the video description. If you like the beer content, the beer reviews that we do here, he does more of all of that and more over on his channel. Sometimes even features me. So
sometimes we've been trying to do that, but yeah, you know.
Yeah,
it's been a 6-month process since we've seen you.
Yeah. And here's to another 6, John.
Hey.
Yeah. I didn't mean it like that. But anyway, yeah, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Craft Computing if you haven't done so already. Thank you all so much for watching. Every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time, Talking Heads for the latest in beer and tech news. This has been episode 153. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Cheers all.
See.